Hello and welcome to the IdeaCast interview series, episode number 88. My guest in this episode is Joy. Joy is the founder and CEO of Be The Difference Clothing, and for the last 10 years, Be The Difference Clothing has been a vehicle for change making and community transformation in a very positive way, and we will discuss Be The Difference Clothing in this conversation, as well as get to know Joy. And Joy personifies her name. She was an amazing person to have a conversation with, and I'm glad to have been able to have met her and had a discussion with her. So I hope you find this conversation to be of benefit, or at least informative in a good way. So thank you so much for your attendance to this conversation, and I again hope you enjoy it. And I'd like to welcome Joy to the IdeaCast interview series. I am looking forward to I don't say this word often, a good vibe conversation, a good energy conversation with Joy today. And so to the YouTube audience, I welcome you all as well. I know you will enjoy Joy's conversation with me. So Joy, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I can't wait to talk about everything and anything that could possibly inspire you, me, and everybody else that's watching. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Good. No, we're both on the same page right now. And like I said, when I research a guest, I'm mostly there to get information, but with you, I was wicking up, and that's why I'm saying vibe and energy. I was just wicking up this really good positive energy, this good feeling, right? And so I know that's just, it doesn't even need to be thought about. It's just going to show up spontaneously in this conversation. And so I'm already grateful for that. And I'm already like, wow, this is going to be fun. So, but what I think we should do, will be a little traditional for just a second. I would like to check in with you so that you can share with the audience a little bit of background, maybe a little bit of Joy background, but also we're going to talk about a beautiful entity that you created. And I won't say it yet. I'm going to let you handle that. But we'll talk about more of a professional bio background on you. But whatever you feel like sharing with the audience, I'll hush up and you go ahead and share.
No, you're good. You're good.
Right.
So first of all, guys, I want you to know that you are beautiful and amazing. There is no mistake about you. Secondly, my name is Joy. I'm from New Jersey. And funny little thing about me is I'm a shy person at heart. But when it comes to doing my passion, I absolutely am like 100% about that. Hold on one second, y'all. They have a little bit of noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear me good or not.
It's not showing up too bad. Your voice is still strong, so you go right ahead. And to heck with those people.
Listen, y'all, it's like nothing but firefighters in the background right now. So
Oh,
I wasn't sure if you heard that.
I live on a street. I got a street right over here where the ambulances run, so I might get it too. So we're good. Hats off to the firefighters and the first responders.
But you know what the good thing about that is?
Oh, I hear him now.
No matter what happens in life, no matter what distractions come your way, do not deter off of your goal. I say that to say that a long time ago, when I was younger, agelessly younger, I was always like, had it in me and the idea, and it was always in me to like try to be inspirational and just try to live my life so that others don't hurt because of my actions. And the pinnacle point of why I started Be The Difference Clothing and who it has helped me to become is the day that I saw someone who was under the influence. And I mean, like, I had never seen that a day in my life. The person was stuck backwards like this, but all the way down. And they were just swaying like a little bit. Like, this is the body, and the body was like almost touching the back of their knee. And mind you, this was like in the deep December, where it was like wintry cold and like no one was outside. So that broke my heart, because the first thing that I thought of was when they were a toddler, no way in their mind could they have envisioned that their life would turn out like this. And I don't think anybody ever wants to grow up to be an addict of any sort. We always think of addiction as just something with substance abuse, but there's more than just substance abuse. Some of us are addicted to our phones. Some of us are addicted to social media. Some of us are addicted to working, porn, whatever you may have. I say the way to test your addiction level and if there is an issue is how much time are you spending with your family? If you spend little to no time where you have your family, but you're thinking about doing something else that feels a little bit better, that may be an addiction. And so the t-shirt "Addiction Kills the Family" was birthed from that experience because I knew I couldn't physically come out of the car and say something. First, I was scared. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was afraid because I don't know what this person could have been capable of doing had I approached. And even if I did approach, what can I do that late at night? It's not like I can, help them go to a rehab. And if they even wanted to go, like you just, all of these things come up, and I'm like, but I have to do something about it. And my way of doing something about it was writing it down and putting it subliminally on something that we wear every day. Like, who doesn't wear a t-shirt every day or some part of the day? It's summertime. So everybody's in a t-shirt or whatever. So I figured the I figured an antidote to help all of us, including myself, is to subliminally, intellectually, and lovingly inspire people through written messages on clothing. So that is just a little piece of who I am and why I started doing this clothing and how it helps me to keep on going forward with it. It gives me a voice. It becomes someone else's voice. And I'm happy that I am chosen to do this. So not for nothing and all for nothing. I'm just a plain person who decided to take up the call that was put on my life. And I inspire everyone else, all of us, including myself at times, to continue to take up whatever your purpose is and move with it. Your life is going to be so much more peaceful. Your life is going to be so much more fulfilling. And your life is going to be filled with so many people that you run into that will help boost you up when you're down and help encourage you. Okay. And when I say this is your third eye to help encourage you, like enlighten you so that you can grow and glow, So that's just who I am in a little nutshell.
That's it's a golden nutshell. It's a beautiful nutshell. And I recall in doing my research in what you do, that moment when you saw that person in their perilous state, that again, fear came up, and that you were I won't put words in your mouth, but that there may have been a little bit of helplessness or hesitation, but you moved through that and you found the courage to act on that which you found to be upsetting, and someone who wasn't in their perhaps best humanity or their best expression of themselves, as you say in some of your live streams that you do. If there's someone here in the audience listening right now and they may have found themselves in a similar situation, could you pass just a little bit of advice or encouragement along on how you worked through that and how you made that transition from being like, it's almost traumatic to see somebody like that, but also like having that courage to step up and saying, how can I make a difference? How can I be a change maker? If there was somebody out here in that space where they're like wanting to do something, but they may not have the courage, what would you say to them?
I say first and foremost, when you're at your most fearful points in life, you got to just jump on it because it's never ever going to be an opportune time where you're going to be like, okay, I'm comfortable. Life is better when it's uncomfortable because you become comfortable from that uncomfortability. But I mean, it's just something. It's basically when you finally take the responsibility that's given to you and do something with it, you're always going to be taken care of. Now, I would recommend cutting out all distractions. For me, this is just for me, and everybody is different. Maybe some are the same, but for me, my way of cutting distractions out was turning the TV off, turning the radio off, and just tuning in to God, maker, creator, or whoever you guys believe in, to really help heal me, right? We're often, and unprogram me, because we're often programmed by the programming that we watch every day religiously from 7 to 9 or before bed, and takes away time from dinner time. Okay.
Mm.
But take away the distractions. And I always try to recommend, if you don't believe anything that I'm saying, even though I'm telling you it's from my proof of living, then do it for yourself. And you owe it to yourself to test any theory that somebody throws at you. And that's how you know how true it is. And don't test it and be like, oh, it didn't work. Did you put the effort in? That's what counts. I decided to put the effort in. And it was hard at first to turn off the radio, because who drives around without the radio on? Me. But it takes time. It takes time. And anything good always takes time. Sometimes it comes quick. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's also like fasting. If you've never fasted before, it's gonna be uncomfortable. But I guarantee you will have so much fruit come from that. And these are the reasons why the talk show came about, because I decided to cut out the distraction. I had so much extra time now, and it just pivoted to this direction. And because I've done that, I'm able to communicate with people who are all over the world. And then I get to meet people like Justin.
Mm.
Had I not taken off the distractions, I would not be here. I would still be watching my primetime TV and just being programmed to be nothing. So that's the way I see it.
I did the same thing. I got rid of what did I have? Satellite, or I can't remember. I had something like that, cable or satellite, years ago, and then I had a Roku player, and then I weaned off all the stuff that was on the Roku except YouTube, and we have NHK, which is Japanese language, and so we budget ourselves, my wife and I, for dinner. Only while we're eating dinner, for about a half an hour, we watch a little something, and it's usually something creative, like something about architecture or home designs or art or creativity, something like that. And then we walk away. Now I do watch other YouTube when I'm on my computer, but I try to do information, stimulating things for the mind, intellectual stuff like that. And I know something that I took away from one of your live streams is you said, you want to do a test on how much you are addicted or immersed into this habitual patterning, is how much time do you spend with your family, and so or your close friends. And so why don't you speak to that for a second, if you will?
Yeah, so testing your own self. And then another way is, how long can you look at yourself in the mirror? I always say, like, give yourself 5 minutes. If you can't look at yourself for 5 minutes in the mirror, then there's something inside that you can't face. And that needs to be worked on. That's a trauma. And majority of our lives is trauma built on top of trauma, built on top of trauma. And we're never taught how to heal. We're always taught how to go get it. Go get that money, go get that job, go get that marriage, go get that family. But we're never taught how to live through our pains so that we can be better examples for children that we bring into situations. Be better examples for our spouses that may need that extra healing because of your gentle touch, meaning your words or whatever. But like, it's just, it's simple, but to do it takes a lot of you investing in you and investing in God, your maker, creator, to like really move through you. And you have to be there. You have to be there. I was watching somebody's podcast the other day, and he was the person that was being interviewed happens to be a billionaire. But he talked about, he was a billionaire because he completely got off of drugs. He's been sober. He's been sober for like 16 years. This is going to be 17 years come December or November. And he was just talking about how the same thing, and it just lined up. He was talking about how he had to cut the distractions out. He was talking about how he had to do all of the inner work, how he needed to lean on something that he can't see. And a lot of times we talk about things that we can't see and how much we love and agree and lean on them, but we get tested often.
Hmm.
And our reactions often reflect on how much we actually do believe in whatever we can't see. Our reactions reflect on how much faith we really have. So it's just we just have to get back to nature. At the end of the day, we have to get back to the natural things, the natural order of things. Cooking your food, don't use the microwave. Getting rid of the TV for a little bit. Talking, like we don't communicate anymore. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Meeting in person, touching. The sensories that we have are being dulled down to nothing. And that
Hmm.
is our superpower. How could we honestly produce superhuman skills if we don't even operate in the sensories that we have? It's just it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Somebody made a great analogy about addiction, and there's actually a book about it, and maybe it's being subject to peer scrutiny in the field of psychology, but they called it reciprocal closing. So as you said, addiction can be a lot of things, but it's that the focus narrows down so tight, and that and I've done a lot of drugs in my life, and I know people who were really addicted. I was fortunate that I never found myself addicted, but I did still abuse. But anyway, that your focus just converges down on. So for somebody that's addicted to, say, opiates, and their whole life starts to revolve around either getting the next fix or getting the networking going to make that happen. And again, I've been there to a degree, and so I'm not saying any of this in judgment, but
Right.
that focus. And again, like you said, it could be shopping, could be food, could be sex, could be any of those things. But if that's where you are, and that's, like you said, how much time do you spend in nature? How much time do you spend with your family or your friends or whatever? Because if your focus is that tight, but think about the opposite of that. When you expand that focus of yours out, that's what I'm seeing when you had that epiphany with that poor soul that was suffering on the side of the road. And I think your focus, not that it was closed, but it just popped a little bit differently. And then that self-awareness came out. I love that
Yeah.
word, self-awareness, that you
It's,
care to make that difference for people.
yeah, and it's like I believe nature heals us,
Mm,
but love binds us.
mm,
And we're taught so much to stray away from all of that.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they're trying to close parks down and just do indoor things. Like, if you go around to any metropolitan city, you'll see more construction and less parks.
Mm.
It's like it's so many little things that add up to how we're getting dehumanized,
Yeah.
and it's sad. But it's sad, but it's not impossible because there's always time. There's always going to be time for us to do something different to make the tides change in the favor of humanity. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to do the work. We all do. And it's a
Yeah.
daily thing. Nobody is ever going to be perfect. No one is ever going to be at 99.9% or 95%. We're all going to be a functioning maybe 90%, which is beautiful.
Yeah. I'll take it.
We
Yeah.
have to, that 90% is a big deal. That means you have a lot of responsibility. And what you speak out of your mouth is definitely going to create or kill. Point blank, simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's the choice that we have every day when we wake up. Am I going to kill something or am I going to breathe life? That's a choice. And if we're blessed enough to see another day, hopefully, habitually and routinely will decide to choose life, which would mean that we'll be so much more disciplined in what we do, how we operate, what we intake. The foods that we eat have a lot to do with our personalities, I believe.
Mm.
So the more I noticed that the more greens that I ate, because I don't eat meat, the
Mm-hmm.
more greens that I ate, it gave more time for my body to be free. So it's
Mm.
not fighting to break down any meats or try to break down the chemicals that are in the meats. That was just fighting to break down leaves.
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an empty vessel. You can fill that empty vessel with a lot of good things, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah, my wife and I don't eat meat either anymore. Well, we eat a little fish here and there, but
Mhm.
so we had some meat this weekend. My wife was like, I I kind of regret doing that. Like it always tastes good, but we hadn't had meat in forever. She's just like, I don't know if I
Ooh,
should have done that. Yeah.
you guys were fighting, right?
It was tasty, right? And her dad made it, and it was like, oh no. But yeah, I agree. I mean, what you put in is the fuel that gives that body, your body, what it needs to sustain itself. So yeah, I agree. And you talk about percentages like 90%. So if we're talking about like plant-based diet, some people get really evangelical and they're like vegan, vegan, vegan. And it's like, well, if I were talking to somebody who was really into eating meat, I would say just take 10% off, 10%, and see what happens.
Right.
I'm down to where, so if there's 21 meal periods in a week, I might eat 18 to 20 without any meat in it now at this point in my life when I have a choice. Like if I go to a friend's house and they put meat down, I'm eating it. I'm not going to be weird like that, right? But that's what I would say is like just 10 to 20%, you would be impressed by what that difference that will make for you, as well as for perhaps the ecology, the environment, for the suffering of animals, all those kind of things that we talk about when we don't eat meat. But I would never push on somebody and say, you need to stop. You know what I mean? It's just like try 10, 20%. Take one day of the week and eat a plant-based day and see what happens.
Right.
Because I'm at the point now, like I said, I just don't crave it. I have no desire for it. If it's put in front of me, I'll eat it because I'm respectful of the person that worked hard to give me that food.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think eating plants and vegetables and beans and rice and things like that, it just at my age, it gives me that energy to keep going. And I'm not that old, but I'm pushing my mid 50s, but I feel pretty good. So
Speaking of which, I call myself ageless. And
oh, okay.
you know why? I'll tell you why. A couple years ago, I was like, wait a second. You mean to tell me that they make us instill a timeline in our subliminal minds?
Mm,
Like, like back in the Bible, right? Because I grew up in church. Back in the Bible, people were living till 900, a
yeah,
1,000 years old.
yeah.
And I'm just like,
Excuse me.
I'm not saying I'm gonna live that long, but I'm just
Mm,
like, they say the average human is 70, 80, maybe 90 years. So
hmm
you mean to tell me, once you tell me that all my life I'm living to think when I'm gonna die
yeah.
subliminally? So if you think about being ageless, time no longer is limited.
hmm
So anybody that asks me, they always laugh at me, but I'm just like, no, I'm ageless. I'm ageless
Yeah.
because if my physical body gives out, my soul is going to keep going. And wherever my soul ends up being, hopefully it'll be in a place where it's still going to be able to help others.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Wherever I go, whether I be, a spirit just helping other people or, going into another life, who knows?
hmm
But I recommend everybody don't allow those limitations to come in your mind. That's just a human thing that people, I don't care how statistically sound it is.
hmm
It's still something that gives you an impression that it's going to be over eventually. You're getting to your 60s. Oh my goodness, I only
Yeah.
have a good 10 years left. No, you just live your life until you believe that God says it's time for you to go. And that time that you have, spend it more thinking about how can I leave this place
Right.
better? How can my legacy be embedded even more? How can that footprint be more solid and concrete? That's how we should be thinking. We shouldn't be limiting ourselves to like that and birthdays. And I mean, it's
hmm
nice to celebrate those things, but birthdays and holidays, all of these different traditions that man-made came up for consumerism, it just takes away. Like I don't mind celebrating holidays, but
hmm
when I think about the consumer part of it, like you're just trying to make money,
Yeah.
that really turns me off.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm down for a gathering any day of the week, but don't get me on like, oh, it's about to be 4th of July. Let's have a big barbecue. No, let's have a barbecue during the week. Why wait? Who's to say
hmm
that either one of us is going to make it to 4th of July
That's right.
or Christmas? Why do we have to wait? Let's do it now. Now
hmm
is better than any time because we don't have the roadmap to what's going to happen next. And that
hmm
goes back to faith. We believe that we're going to wake up tomorrow, but you have to realize how much faith you really have. That's your testament right there. You
Mm-hmm.
believe that you're gonna wake up and put your feet down on the ground and walk to the bathroom and do your routine without thinking.
Yeah. You said something that got me inspired just a minute ago, and I was thinking, when you hit a, like, let's say you're in your 60s and you're saying, what can you do to help the world be better and help it shine a little bit more? And I'm thinking, wow, that's two wins for being a good ancestor. So when you pass away, there's the legacy you left behind, but then while you're still alive, you are inspiring and influencing others in real time. And then again, when you become that ancestor that's now behind us rather than with us, that inspiration reverberates through time, and it impacts people. And this is something you said in one of your streams about being an influencer, and I want to talk about that. But this is a way to be a good influencer in perpetuity. You can go on and on, because if you do one thing that sets that little reverberation out, people talk about you for years after you're gone. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So thank you for that. I was thinking while you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, it's a double whammy right there. Yeah, for being a good ancestor. Yeah. So, in fact, if you want, we can open that door and talk about, because the live stream that I was listening to, and this is very poignant, that okay, everybody's an influencer, and blah blah blah, and we typically think of good influencer, but no matter what you do, you're either a good or perhaps a negative or perhaps a neutral person who may reflect somebody. So in other words, you're not changing their trajectory too much. Maybe you're confirming something, but I took in about what you were saying about you can be a bad influencer too, and you can really ruin somebody's day, and they'll go ruin somebody's day who will ruin some, and on and on and on. So let's talk about how we're all in this sense kind of connected by this way we interact with each other, but let's speak to that duality of influence and how we need to perhaps be mindful of that.
I like to use the analogy that I had of a puzzle. So we're all a part of this puzzle, and we all are cut in different pieces.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we try to stick our pieces in parts of the puzzle that don't fit.
Mm.
So you get that uncomfortableness and you
Mm.
don't bump heads with people. Maybe it's because you're not supposed to be on that part of the puzzle. Maybe your puzzle is the finishing piece, but you're so busy trying to jam your piece in the piece that's already taken. That's how our influences can be. You know what I mean? Like we can look at other people and see how their life is as an example, but
Mm-hmm.
you still have your own to live. You still have to figure out who you are. That goes back to, if everybody lived their purpose, I don't think there would be any jealousy. I don't think
Mm.
there would be anyone trying to like outshadow or outshine anyone else or try to talk down to, because we will all see that the roadmaps that we've had is filled with a lot of things that we are not pleased with.
Mm.
Maybe things that we wish we never did. And then we would show more grace. Like I believe life is about showing grace, because you're going to need it one day. One day you're going to mess up. But if you were over here trying to squeeze your way into everything else, do you think that they're going to want to show you any sympathy
Yeah.
if they haven't worked on themselves? Now, someone who has worked on themselves and understands how it feels, how it really feels, they're gonna show you grace regardless, because they know that's the right thing to do. And a
Mm.
lot of people haven't gotten there yet. So we just continue the cycle of hurting each other, jumping on that hamster wheel, and we're just going like this.
Mm-hmm.
But one day we have to get off, so that we're no longer spinning in a circle, but actually creating a circle, creating lines and longitudes and latitudes and going to help kids that need it, because
Mm-hmm.
that's our future. I always say, look, that's my social security. So, I want
Yeah.
to harder, like, oh
Yeah.
my God, do what you got to do.
Hey, listen, and if you inspire them to think that way, they're going to help the next generation, because it's back and forth. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that
And
reminds me.
you don't know. Like I often, like on the podcast that I do, the Hello World podcast, or talk show, whatever you want to call it. But I often think of the times where I may not have a ton of people in my chat and it's not popping with 100, 200, 50, 10, sometimes not even that many people. But the one person who may be watching in the shadows may be that same person that ends up being president of the United States, who doesn't necessarily need the background, the backings from some financial backings from other people to help them get to the platform, but they'll just naturally get there because they've worked on themselves, and God, make a creator, whoever they believe in, will always make a way.
Mm-hmm.
And once they make that way, nothing can stop you. Nothing. People can try to block you, but they're not going to stop you.
Mm.
And you will get to where you go, and there'll be an amazement. Like, how did you do it without being crooked and without having a financial backing? And how did you do it without all these other people who have power to stop you not be able to do it? Because when you're in line and in tune, that's a force that no one can recognize.
Mm.
That's what I.
Yeah, and I
So
would. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I missed that last part.
so it's important.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I don't want to derail what I was just thinking. I would see that being synonymous with purpose, like that will that's moving through you, that alignment with what is say just and good and true and beautiful and all that's that power that's moving through you is a sense of purpose, that it expresses itself as purpose for us, because you do talk about purpose, and I like that too. The one I was joking with you before we started recording, and there's that philosopher that I talk 3 hours straight, and he has this interesting concept, and he took it from Carl Jung, and he calls it his daimon. And daimon can have a couple different things. Almost sounds like demon, but it's more like it's that force, that will, and like you said, creator, source, God, it doesn't matter. But that and they talk about it in like Taoism and things like the qi or the wu wei or however you want to look at it. But that's expressing itself through you, and it's moving through you. And when you get out of the way of your own trappings of ego or aggrievement, or like you said, watch out, because that's an unstoppable. And if they shoot you in the head, then that force is going to move to somebody else who's aligned, and it's just going to keep pushing. Yeah, I believe in that. I believe there is this kind of, and they talk about it. It's like the will, it's just that strength. And we see that in the big change makers, the big ones who had the big vision. I'll bring up Dr. Martin Luther King. He didn't care whether he took a bullet. He knew what he needed to do. Jesus, I mean, you said you came from a church. He didn't care, he had a message to teach. And same thing with the Prophet Muhammad. Any of these great wisdom teachers, Gandhi, anybody, whoever it is, they had that force moving through them, and they got out of their own way, and whoosh. Yeah.
And there's still years, 20, 30, 40 years, they're still being talked about.
Yeah.
The legacy is still being talked about. But the thing is, we have to carry out their legacy. Like, we talk about it. That's another thing. Like a lot of people are filled with BS. Like, you can talk a good game, but when it comes down to doing it, that takes you moving. Like you said, the ego. In order for you to actually do what your purpose is, our egos have to be out of the way, because your purpose is not going to be aligned with material things. I'm sorry. You'll have material things to sustain you, but it's not going to be at the plateau of like billionaire status, because you have to do too many things in order to get to that status that might block you from being a blessing to humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe
No, I agree. I completely agree. And that goes back to the daimon. The daimon doesn't care whether you suffer or not, doesn't care whether you're rich or poor. In fact, it just needs to be, it needs to move. And so if you're in alignment with that and you don't fight it, then you suffer less. And then, if you're clever and motivated, and like you said, you are in action, that it doesn't care if you attach some kind of thing that helps you sustain yourself to it, but that's not the priority. The message, the alignment with the true, the good, the beautiful, whatever you want to call it, the Christ-like behavior, however you want to frame that if that's moving through you, that if you can do a, well, I guess nowadays they call it a side hustle or whatever, and you can turn, I mean, you're doing that with your company, you're change maker, you're making things happen, but you're also taking care of yourself. So yes, I think you can synthesize and make two things happen, but always know that if the greater good is working through you, then, and you have the discipline and the energy and the ability to then also sustain yourself, then more power to you. You know, doesn't matter. But like you said, it, whatever's happening is not concerned about you having the latest fashion designer car or whatever, you know, it doesn't matter, because that's all illusory, you know, it doesn't matter. So I agree with you completely. Yeah, I agree. And there's so many examples of that. People who walked away from a lot. I mean, that's the Buddha story. Like Buddha walked away from being in royalty in the highest level of society, and he just went and sat under a tree and got enlightened, and then spent the rest of his life just being a teacher, and lived quite humbly. Almost, in fact, he tried asceticism, tried renouncing everything, and that didn't really work. You know, who wants to do that? But you know, you find that middle way, that happy way where you're not a hedonist and a decadent, you know, like you said, chasing materialism, chasing consumerism, but you're also being useful and helpful and a good ancestor, a good
Yeah.
beneficial person.
And the material things that you do gain is because they trust that you're going to do good by it.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that beautiful? Like just
Mm-hmm.
to know that if you do end up getting a massive amount of material gains, is because they can trust or want to test to make sure that you're going to do good with that.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's another thing about having discipline. If you do get that, amass that kind of wealth, and you were able to be unscathed by the people who don't do good with their wealth, you're supposed to be helping. You know what I mean? And I'm a testament to that. Like, because I have done what I have been doing and I continuously do, I need to do more of it. I've been taken care of. I've never missed a meal. My head has never not hit a pillow. There's always been a roof on my head, over my
Mm-hmm.
head. I've
Mm-hmm.
always had income. And it's like sometimes when I think about the income that um, I currently have, there's no way in the world it could actually take care of everything that I have. Because that's so like if you do the work, all your needs will be provided for. I'm a firm believer in that. All your needs will be provided for. And then you're gonna have one day like how I'm saying today, how am I doing it? It's not for you to worry about. Just
Mm-hmm.
keep what you're supposed to do for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. And it'll show up. It'll show up. And you know, I think one of the ironies, and this is a almost paradoxical, that if you get into this kind of mindset and you get into this kind of flow state with being aligned with something that again is takes care of you and takes care of what you, like you said, what purpose seems to be moving through you, that wealth doesn't matter anymore. I mean, for me, I just, if I won some big lottery jackpot, all I would care about is doing scholarships for kids. I would set myself up to where I wouldn't be poor and starving in my
Right.
80s, you know, and that's fine. You know, six figures, whatever you want to call it, seven figure, low seven figure. But if I had that kind of money, I'd be paying for college tuitions to get kids into school that could otherwise not necessarily afford to get in, or take care of retired teachers or firefighters that don't have a lot on their you know, in their savings account, but they work their whole lives in public service to take care of other people. You know what I mean? That to me is the richest richness that you could have. And I know I sound like I'm virtue signaling.
No, no.
Try me, you know, because like I don't want stuff. I don't want junk. I don't want a big house. I don't want cars. You know, it's all crap. You know, stuff
Yeah.
you have to take care of. And I'm lazy. I don't want to polish cars and worry about my watches getting stolen or whatever it is, you know.
Okay.
It
I
doesn't do
was just
anything.
thinking about what you're saying. I'm like, you know how many families would be happy, and then they could in turn pay it forward.
Mm,
Like if it does happen, I know, or if that's what you truly desire, when it does happen, you know, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be positively affected and their story can change,
yeah.
and I don't know. It's just in thinking about that, like we all should just know how important our integrity is, how important what we say we're going to do is, because there's so many people who have been told things that maybe you're the last person that they say, all right, fine, I'm gonna give you a chance. And if this doesn't work out, if they lie to me like all the other people, then I'm done.
Yeah.
And then nobody's gonna say that to you, but what if you are that final straw?
Mm-hmm.
I like to try my best to think that maybe I might be the final straw for somebody. And
Mm.
I don't want to, at the end of the day, I don't want to die and then somebody, God, like, cause, Christianity or whatever, I go to God and he's like, you know what, Joy, you did good all this time, but that one time
Mm.
when you didn't speak a good word, that person was going to be responsible for X, Y, and Z, but you discouraged them.
Mm.
Like, I know that's a heavy weight to put on one person, but it's that
Yeah.
serious. It's
Well,
that serious.
you can live like that though, as though there were some paternal watch person, like a heavenly father or something. I mean, if that's one way to motivate yourself, then do it. And because that will keep you vigilant to make sure that every person you interact with, that you don't poison them, that you don't spin them off in a bad direction. Like you said, you can be a good influencer, you can be a negative influencer, and monumental change has occurred on both sides of that. And on the shadow side, not good. And on the
No,
bright side, they end up, like you said, they pay it forward. They have gratitude in their hearts, and they go help somebody else, and it just it reverberates out. So I absolutely agree. But yeah, the analogy of the Heavenly Father saying, I was counting on you to be that shining light, and you had that moment that day, and we all have that day. We all have our doubts.
yes.
I can be a jerk sometimes. I try
Me
not to be.
too. Me
Yeah, I can be
too.
mean and obnoxious, but I try to be accountable. Like if I do something stupid, I don't do it as much, but if I get into some kind of conflict or something, I'm like, dude, seriously, you that was
Could
not
have done
cool. Yeah, that was not cool. Yeah, so I am my own kind of like, yeah, it's like,
yeah.
oh, don't do that.
And I'm
But
I'm glad you said that because anybody watching, I never want you ever to think that I'm perfect because I'm not. I'm
yeah,
just trying my best. I
yeah.
try my best every day. And sometimes I fail. Sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
fail miserably.
Mm.
But I know the steps to get back up.
Mm.
And I know what I should be doing to not fall into that trap again. Will
Mm.
I do it? But we're all a work in progress. So I don't want anybody to ever think that I think I'm perfect because I'm not.
Right, right.
Far from it.
If you can step back, grade yourself and say, okay, I did that and it's okay. I had that kerfluffle or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, if you can pull yourself back, analyze it and say, now the next time that comes up, remember this, and that you'll give yourself that 1 second not to react and as they say now, get triggered or whatever, and go into something with somebody else that may not have a good outcome. Yeah, I agree. And that's adaptation. I mean, AI is the big thing now, and it's machine learning. They're doing that. Those little computers are learning from, not mistakes, but picking up new information and adding it together. And that's what you do, is you just add that to your thing. And the other thing is love yourself, be kind enough to yourself to be wrong and to be vulnerable, right? And make those mistakes, because that's a beautiful gift in its own right, is to regret, right? I mean, that's part of the process. Yeah, you look back and go, oh, that was cringy. I shouldn't have done that. So I completely agree with you. It's learning, it's growing, and we all do it. No, what I like to say is, like, we're never wise, but we have wise moments, or we're never important, but we have important moments. It's like, be that humble, right? Yeah. I don't consider myself wise or important or special or anything, but I have those moments where I think, oh, that was important, or that was special. And then I'm going to step back and say, now what? Just like actors in Hollywood, what have you done lately?
Uh-huh.
That picture was a year ago. What are you doing right now that makes you, stand out or be that great actor that you think you are? So, what I'd like to do, because I know we're probably getting close to an hour, but I want to get this into our conversation. Yeah, we got a little bit of time here, unless you need to scat. Is you talked about something in one of your other live streams called a heart condition. I want to talk about the heart, because that's powerful, and I think it ties perfectly in with what we've been talking about. So let's go into the heart for a moment. I'll just leave you with that, and then you take it and run
Well,
with it.
the heart that's what it is. Like, if it goes back to, healing from traumas,
Mm.
and testing that condition of your heart. Like, what are the different levels? Are you happy? Are you sad?
Mm.
Do you love people? Do you love yourself? And it's just a measure of where you are in life. And I think that love is the most beautiful thing in the world. And I'm not talking about that romantic love. I'm just talking about love for another human being,
Mm.
the way that I believe it was intended for us. Like, I believe we're all here to help each other get up
Mm-hmm.
to that next level, wherever that's supposed to be. I've heard a lot of different theories, but I don't know until I actually get there.
Yeah.
But if your heart's not right, then you're not right. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And the more we work on that heart and expanding it and allowing love to like preside and be the flow in our daily interactions, that ties right back into being able to operate in your purpose, ties back into how much you will be protected and guided and loved and notice it, right? Because we're always protected, guided, and loved, but you're going to notice it even more and you're going to have so much more compassion. Like, if your heart is right, there's no way in the world you can't love nature. There's no way in the world. The same thing that gives us oxygen, the same thing that feeds us. Like, I was just picking in my garden the other day, and I'm like, wow, this one plant created so much vegetation for me to eat. And it just made me realize all we have to do is our part. All you have to do is sow the seed, and the land is going to feed you.
Mm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The very soil that people spit on, that people pour concrete in, that cover up, that try to kill with different pesticides, is the same thing that's creating our meals. It's the same thing that's creating, and that's the only thing that can live and die. Each season it lives and dies,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't. And you can't show no love for that. It creates shade on hot days. It creates breezes so that we don't suffocate. It creates beauty so that we can marvel at. Like, that's art right there.
Yeah.
If you never paint a picture for yourself, go outside and just look at the ripples in the water. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's housing and feeding fish. It's housing and feeding us because we need the water to like keep us nourished. And the sun is also feeding us too. It's a perfect balance, but you cannot experience that or even think about that if you don't have love flowing through your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what happened to you in your life can tell you what your heart condition is. If you don't like nature, then yeah, you got a lot of work to do
Yeah.
because your priorities definitely aren't like, I'm not saying they're not right, but your
Mm.
priorities just definitely are not on the spiritual parts of life. And spiritual doesn't mean religion. Spiritual means like you are in tune with the fact that you may see something, but you like, have you ever seen a blade of grass grow?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
did. I watched it like moving. It was like I also back in my garden. I was just looking at the grass. There was no wind or anything, but it just started moving. I said, "Oh my goodness!" And you ever look at that? Like, have you ever noticed how grass will move even if there's no wind? Because it's alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. We vastly underappreciate our plant friends in this planet and the ecosystem that exists. And what I love is when they do time lapse photography of vines, and when a vine's growing, it's literally searching around its environment for the next place to hook onto so it can crawl up to the sunlight. It's the most amazing thing. They just sit and twirl like this, and when that little tip of the vine touches something, it reacts and it'll slow down and start to move in. I mean, they're just moving at a different speed than us, that's all. And we have to appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that all ties in with the heart. Like, I can tell that my heart is a lot more tender and more sensitive to the things of love and life. because of the fact that I pay that much close attention to nature. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like if we all could just heal from some, like not even all of our traumas, but the main ones that happened to us when we were kids. Like, for example, guys, I remember as a toddler, and I was a little tiny thing, right? I don't know how old I was, but I was running for my life because a dog was chasing me.
Uh-oh.
And I was running. And the last thing I remember was jumping into my dad's arms and he lifted me up. And I just didn't see the dog anymore or anything like that. But do you guys know that when that happened, I may have developed a fear of dogs?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the dog
Okay.
wanted to play with me, or maybe the dog thought I was playing with it. But
Mm-hmm.
either way, I thought I was gonna die,
Yeah.
But that example is even something as simple as that
Mm-hmm.
can alter the course of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So deal with it, work it through, and watch what you can produce after that, you know?
Mm-hmm. What do you think? And you've started that. My question is going to be derived from what you just said. If we have someone in the audience right now and they had that dog chase experience or they had something very similar, and we all do. I mean, we all had things that printed on us as children. Where do they start? What do you think is a good way to open that door and begin that process of, I don't know, it's not even like healing the heart. It's like recognizing, like you said, if you can't walk outside and feel the love and or whatever it is, the force of nature, and appreciate it. What do you think people can do as a place to start or a place to check in with themselves and begin that process?
Let go of distractions.
Mm, okay.
Just even if it's only for a little bit, let go of the distractions because I guarantee you'll feel more at peace that those distractions will no longer be a distraction. You could see a TV and not turn it on after a
Mm,
while.
mm-hmm.
But like once you let go of those distractions, who do you have to deal with? Yourself. And when you can't deal with yourself anymore, what do? God help. Like, come on, we all do it. When you're at the lowest of your low and you're by yourself, whether you believe in God or not, you're like, God, please help me. Or if there's anything out there, can you help me? That's when the work starts.
Mm.
That's when the healing begins. That's what I believe at least. That's when the healing begins.
So it's kind of like a surrender process, like you're trusting the unknown, which can be very scary.
We
But
do it every day.
yeah, yeah.
We trust that our cars are going to start. We
Mm-hmm.
trust that we're going to get to and from our locations.
So
We,
in
we don't
that,
Yeah, we don't
go
even
ahead.
think you don't even think that a car accident is possible.
Right, right.
Like that's not part of your thought process. You're so confident that you're going to get to and from no problems.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have faith and you do believe and you do exercise it. But now it's time to target where that faith needs to go
Yeah,
in order to help heal so you can grow and glow and be useful,
yeah.
even more useful. Not that you're not useful now, but even more useful in a productive way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So recognize the proof of concept in that the daily behavior, the daily habituation of trust and feeling secure, even though you're on the highway driving with other people or you're, walking down the sidewalk and maybe something will fall out of a window or, that you're trusting that you're just moving through daily life experience because it's happened the day before and the day before and the day before. So now you're introducing something new that could be your childhood trauma or however you're going to approach it, that when you can make that a daily mindful, I guess, practice, just like you do getting in the car and trusting that, or the food that you eat, you're trusting that nobody spiked it with poison. You got faith that you're going to make it through the day, even though there is the chance that something could go wrong. Is that a good framing of what you were saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So just monetize on the faith that you have to help you with your healing and to expose the fact that you need to heal certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't aware that, that dog trauma was a big deal.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like none of us are truly aware of what unless it's happened to you religiously throughout your life, there's minor things that happen all the time that can create a blockage. You know what I mean? Like a teacher could yell at you and then you'll hate that subject. Like that happened to me.
Mm.
A teacher yelled at me in a math class and I'm no good in math. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like little subtle things. Those are traumas that we carry on throughout adulthood or whatever ageless age we get to live. Those are traumas.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So like if you expose it and you heal from it. You're going to be overcoming it. It's not saying that you're going to be completely healed. You're going to overcome it because it's going to come back in different ways. But you're more equipped and more readily available to the purpose when you are no longer bound by the invisible things that had happened to you when you were unaware. Even like if somebody, even if you did get into a bumper offender or somebody cursed you out, that is traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like the things that are not good that happen to us can create a trauma. And then we get bonded to that trauma and then we become the trauma and
Mm-hmm.
create trauma and not realize it's because of that trauma. So and it also makes you more aware of what's going on in your surroundings. You know, sometimes we do need to break away from things that don't serve us, but we do it just because we're taught that's the right thing to do.
Mm. Yeah. Would it make sense if a person is trying to make the change and they're trying to do this, that one method might be to, as you move through your day, you when something happens, that your response to it and your reaction to it is trauma based. It's that hamster wheel that you were talking about and that circuit that's built where you are becoming the trauma. That if you could journal that or make notes of that, just keep a notebook handy and just say, oh, this is how I reacted to this. That's that self-awareness development. Would you say that's a good
Absolutely.
habit to get it? Habit for habit? Yeah. A meta habit? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that and it takes time and it takes you really digging deep and caring that much about your soul
Mm-hmm.
and everybody else around you to do that. Because
Yeah.
you really have to care about your next phase of life. If you're tired of living life the way that it's been living and you want something different, well, you have to do something different. And in order to do something different, sometimes we have to backtrack and figure out where the source of those things that held us back came from. And then even tomorrow, what may happen. So yeah, journaling is great. And then if you need to see somebody and speak to someone, there's nothing wrong with that. There's
Mm-mm.
nothing wrong with getting it out of your soul, out of your system to talk to somebody and somebody giving you strategic ideas that you could do and use. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the thing. We've been taught to self help. It's not a life is not self help. If that's
Mm-hmm.
the case, we don't need other humans walking around. We really needed everything to be done by ourselves. We don't need other people, but we
Right.
do. So there are people who are going to come in your life that will be a healing bomb. There are people who come in your life that's going to be a testing. There are people in your life who's going to stay and love you and nurture you. And there are people in your life that are passing through. But you have to know how to categorize everyone properly, you know? So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I believe that majority of our world are good people. It's just our traumas restrict us from being otherwise.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
expose those things and let's heal, guys. Let's just keep on healing.
Yep. Yep.
And you have something that people could do to
What's that?
help them heal. You're telling me about it.
Oh, the website? Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on taking down the paywall right now, but yeah, absolutely. Illumine Life is a project that I've been working on for years now, and it's always going to be in development. It's always going to be changing and growing. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. But that's my little attempt or effort that I'm making that is going to be free to people to check in. And it's my perspective. It's the lens that I'm presenting. And so it's certainly not right or wrong, but if it resonates, that's where I hope that it can make a difference for people. If and 8 billion of us, whoever resonates with it that's awesome. One person. Yeah. I'll start with one and see where it goes. And like you just said, it's on my short list to go see a therapist someday and check in with somebody, because I can BS myself, I can self-deceive, I can tell myself, I got it together, and no, I know I got stuff. Because I had a crazy parent, and I learned a lot from them, and they were the great teacher and master, but they were messed up. And so I want to make sure that I check in with that, because if I am going to be pretending like I am reaching out to people and trying to help show some ideas, that I want to know I'm on this. I used to joke with people when I was starting this website. I don't know I know you're ageless, but when I was a kid in the 70s, there was the hair club for men, and the guy had that crazy rug on, and he goes, "I'm not only the president of the company, I am a member," and he pulls his rug back, and he's got a bald head. That's where I want to be. I'm like, I'm not above any of this. I'm right in here with all this, because like the stuff that I do on that website, I work with it, and I use it, to try to help. And it's all mindfulness. It's all just trying to pay attention. Like you said, do an inventory, check in with yourself, find those traumas embedded in you and the circuits that have been built for it. So yeah, thank you. I hope that does help people. Now
It will. It definitely will. I mean, that's you doing your purpose. And that's a perfect example. Like,
mm, mm,
there are so many outlets, and all of us, that people that are watching, you have someone that you can genuinely trust. You don't have to worry about, oh, let me go on this website and hope that I get somebody. But you've been following Justin for so long, and you trust him this much. How can you not trust him more with
mm.
something, just tools to help throughout the day, or just
Okay.
to help in your journey? You just never know. The reason why you end up somewhere could be your breakthrough.
Mm,
So think of life as one breakthrough to the next breakthrough to the next breakthrough, till it turns out that you're AWHOLE,
mm-hmm,
as whole
mm-hmm.
as can be.
Yeah,
you know. And my
absolutely.
slogan for Be the Difference Clothing is not just clothing; it's a way of life. I got it from that. The
Yes, very
hair club.
good.
I took it from there.
Oh, did you? Synchronicity. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
yeah.
Now, I could ask a cliche like, what's the future for joy or yada, but I'm going to frame it a little differently, because I want to, I'd like to end with this, with you sharing with us, um, instead of asking that question, what are you visioning for your relationship with the world moving forward in time, if that's a good way to frame that, or a good question to ask? Can you share, first of all, what you're visioning, what your heart and your imagination are aspiring to for the future?
I I envision just more peace.
Mm,
I envision that the majority actually rules in
mm,
a peaceful manner. I envision more complete and whole families.
mm,
Uh, I envision less hurt. Not to say that there's never going to be problems, but if a problem does arise, we can effectively communicate what happened, what that person did or what they did, and then move on with a pure heart and not having grudges or anything like that. That's what I would love to see. And it's going to happen. It will, because at some point in time, good always outweighs bad.
mm,
Darkness is always defaulted from light. So without that bad patch, no good can come. So it's now our turn to start making that bad patch become back in the past.
mm-hmm,
So that's what my vision is, to help communities and to, stay strong to be able to continue doing this, be on a more global, doing speaking engagements,
mm,
um, you know, empowering as many people as possible, just helping all of us think differently. I'm not the cure or the answer to anything, but if I can help you think about life in a different way, then that's great. I would love to see the clothing brand expand and branch out to different areas and regions of the world.
mm-hmm.
And, that's pretty much it. Um, I do have books. These are
Oh,
all, well, these are four of the books that I've written. These are all quotes. So you know, written words, easy to read.
Okay.
But I want so many people to be, oh wow, I want so many people to be positively affected that it keeps me inspired, you know.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm. It
that's
it
it.
it feeds back and forth to you. Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
the fuel to drive you into the future. Well, I didn't say this in the beginning, but um, everything that anyone needs to have to discover you will be down in the description field. And I'll say that in the intro. I'll just remind people in the beginning that they can find you through those links, and your clothing company, your YouTube, your TikTok, your Instagram, all of these means to connect with you. You got a nice little community over on YouTube. I was watching your live streams. You had your peeps showing up for you and communicating with you, and there was a good vibe. Like I said in the beginning, I was feeling that, and it's like, Joy, you're doing good work and you're working in good faith, and I think you're an inspiration to other people. You are a change maker, however it manifests, right? Like none of us should ever put a frame on it. It's just like move, and I think you're in that space, and I want to honor that, and I want to extend my gratitude to you that you and I connected on this, and we collaborated for this moment in time. We turned this product out, this conversation, and it's going to benefit whomever. It doesn't matter, but it's going to be a benefit, and I know you appreciate that, and I appreciate that. So I want to ask if there's anything you want to add, because we've gotten just a little over an hour now, so we've left enough for people to chew on and digest. So do you want to add anything else to the conversation before we go ahead and wrap this one up? And you can always come back, we can do other conversations, but for this time, is there anything you want to end with?
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come on your platform.
Hmm.
Uh, and keep on doing the good work that you're doing and expanding minds. Let me tell you guys, Justin is deep because our pre-interview before this one, I was just sitting there like, because it was like so much information that that day, I was just extremely excited for the rest of that day.
Oh,
Because
cool,
of our
cool.
conversation. It's like, you need that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you need that. And I was definitely grateful for it. So
Oh, thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. Because I just babble. I start talking. And so
It wasn't.
I'm glad it had a good impact. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. And that's my heart. I mean, I take care of myself. I take care of my family, but at this point in my life, at this age that I've reached, I'm like, I'll be around hopefully 30, 40 more years. And whatever that time is that I have, it's almost the second half of my life or just a little less. I want it to be where I'm in this relationship with other people, doing good for myself by doing good to others. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I don't care about the money. I don't care about whatever else happens, because I just think like what you're doing, it's so fulfilling and so rewarding to know that if even one person changes the least little bit and they're, going to change somebody else, that's it. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? So I think you and I both have that vision. And so, and again, we're connected now. We have this conversation. I'm there with you and you're there with me, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how the paths unfold for us, and what we, in our own respective way, try to do to make good change in the world, and inspire others to do the same. So
And one other thing too, guys, we're examples of what somebody did for us.
yes, yes,
So we're
yeah,
carrying out the same examples that were laid out for us. So whoever did it for us, now we're just paying it forward. So
yes, yes. We're a
it's
link in a
never
chain. Link in a chain.
exactly.
Amen. Amen.
That's amazing.
Yeah. What a good way to end this conversation. Joy, it's been a blessing to speak with you, and I'm touched. You've changed my trajectory, because again, I was watching you, I was researching you, and you just have this beautiful vibe to you, and it's infectious, and it's just like you were saying in the pre-meet, it just changed your day a little bit, and so you've done the same for me, and I love that, and so thank you for being a guest, and thank you for speaking to my audience. I appreciate it, and I will say goodbye to you after we're done recording. YouTube audience, I hope this was a lovely conversation for you. Check out Joy, check out her socials. Yeah. And it's all going to be down in the description field. But in the meantime, Take care, be well, and I'll see you guys in the next conversation. Like I said, Joy, I'll catch up with you as soon as I hit the stop record button. Bye, YouTube audience.